Morning. It must be morning. I was woken up by a shaft of sunlight falling across the bed, and for a blissful few minutes as I slowly came around I didn't know where I was or what I was doing. A faint headache suggested that some alcohol had been involved with the night before, and the noise of waves breaking in the sea suggested somewhere tropical. Realization slowly dawned that I wasn't wearing anything except my necklace. God, I must have been quite drunk the night before to get into my bed without putting any clothes on. I opened my eyes with a start. Looking over next to me I could see a man asleep. My partner in crime. The memories of the night before came flooding back. Oh no! This wasn't supposed to have happened. I went out for a friendly dinner last night having told my boyfriend that I loved him and not to worry, and ended up drunkenly hooking up with my dining mate. I had to get out of there. I could rationalize cheating when drunk, having been so desperate to be touched with my boyfriend so far away, but keeping it going in the cold, sober light of day would be entirely different. That would be a conscious choice to cheat, and something I would have to live with. I crept out of bed and quietly took my dress and shoes to the guest bathroom for the suite. I just needed to dress quickly and be gone. I could deal with the mess caused to my friendship later. What did for me was the shoes. I'd put them back on and the noise of me walking out of the bathroom woke him up. As I headed across the living room and towards the door to the suite, he appeared, at the door to the bedroom. Trying to sneak out without saying goodbye? He asked with a smile. Oh God, that smile. I felt my resolution start to waver a little. No, not that at all. I just have a thing I remembered. I stuttered, my words trailing off. He walked over to me, his thing swinging slightly as he did so. Oh God. It was perfect. It had given me so much pleasure last night. My resolution was definitely wavering now. Putting his hand under my chin, he pulled my face to look at his and kissed me on the lips. I turned my head away, the last of my resolution pushing back, and he moved instead to kiss my neck while his hands held my hips. No, we can't. I've got a boyfriend. I whispered. Oh God, my neck. I was wavering on the brink, my desire pushing all sensible thought out of my mind. Between kisses he whispered back. If you truly don't want this, then you can walk away. Until then. And resumed his kisses along my neck and jaw line. I was rooted to the spot. My brain was screaming at me to walk away, but somewhere lower down was taking control and making me want more of what we'd done the night before. I could feel myself becoming very aroused. My body wanted him so much. He moved so that he was stood behind me, his kisses continuing on my neck but with one hand now moving down. My senses were on fire. I turned my head towards his and kissed him gently on the cheek. Can I do it? He whispered. I shook my head. Please. I wanted him so badly at that point, but I also knew I mustn't have him. I gave in. Please. Please do it. Suddenly the hotel room phone rang, loud against the tranquility of the room. The noise served to snap my head back a little into reality, and I froze as my brain started to take over again. I reached my hand down to stop him. The phone stopped ringing as quickly as it started, before starting to ring again a few seconds later. I put my hand to my face and smiled, saying to my partner in crime, I think it's for you. He smiled ruefully and climbed off to answer it, and I could hear a hurried conversation. I'd taken the opportunity to get my dress back in place, straighten out my hair and in general try to look normal. Coming back over, he said, that was reception. Apparently we've overstayed our checkout and they've asked us to leave as soon as we can. I smiled. Probably not bad timing. You're naughty. Not a bad end to a very good dinner. No, you're right. He smiled back. Guess that scuppers what we were about to do. Are you leaving right now? Yes, I think so. I need to process what happened here. I need some space to think. That phone ringing snapped me back to reality. Can I see you later? That depends on what you mean by see me later. Well, I was thinking you could come over. I make you dinner. And he smiled suggestively. I've got a boyfriend. I replied. As you well know, last night was amazing, but I need to process. So, how about if seeing you later meant grabbing a relaxed drink? Seeing you later as friends. It's hard to think about that when you're asking me while you look like this. It's very distracting, but I'd like that. I think. Text me where and when. Okowa. And with that, I leaned over to give him a quick peck on the cheek and left the room. Leaving the hotel, I felt a little overdressed, wearing my high heels and dress from the night before. But nobody batted an eyelid apart from one middle-aged man who was waiting in the hotel lobby, and quickly got a scolding from his wife. Once I got home, my first priority was a shower. Having got out of the shower and put my running kit on, suddenly the enormity of the previous night hit me, and I felt sick to the stomach. I'd crossed my red lines. I'd slept with someone other than my boyfriend. Should I tell my boyfriend? What would he do? But then, my boyfriend was thousands of miles away. How much worse was it really to sleep with someone? And I'd been drunk, so it wasn't the real me last night. Just a much more wanton, aroused version of me. As I worked out in the gym, I came to an accommodation in my head. A narrative that me cheating, while not ideal, was okay. That it scratched an itch that otherwise would have lingered on potentially much more harmfully throughout my time on this overseas rotation. That me cheating was a one-off, never to be repeated. That it would be selfish to tell my boyfriend, that the kind thing to do was to keep it to myself. I knew deep down that I was kidding myself, that what I'd done was cheating plain and simple. But show me someone who doesn't get by in life by lying to themselves and I'll show you a liar. When I finished my workout, I checked my phone and had 2 messages. One from my boyfriend, one from my partner in crime. It's probably an indication of where my head was at that afternoon that I looked at the one from my partner in crime first. Partner in crime. Hey, really enjoyed last night. Still keen on a drink later? Me, yeah, sounds good. Think we need to discuss some things. How about that new place near my office? Partner in crime. Great, it's a date. 7 p.m.? It's a date. Not ideal wording after the events of the last 24 hours. Me, it's a drink, that's all. No repeat of last night. 7 p.m. is good. See you there. As far as I was concerned, the drink later was an opportunity to clear the air, and not let things fester after the night before. I wanted us still to be friends, and the longer we left it, the harder it would be to get past what had happened. But very definitely the drink later was only going to be a drink. There was no way I was getting into this any further than I had already. I switched over to read the text from my boyfriend. Boyfriend. Having a great time on the stag do. Hope your dinner last night was fun. Sorry about me getting jealous. I just want it to be me having dinner with you. I miss you and I love you X. I replied quickly. Me, dinner was fun and don't worry about jealousy. I miss you and love you too X. He must have been right on his phone though, as he replied straight back. Boyfriend. Glad it was fun and hope you managed to get tucked up in bed early. Plans for rest of weekend? X. A tricky one. Probably best to keep as close to the truth without revealing too much. Me, chilled one really, just been to gym and not planning much later. X. I mean strictly that was true. He didn't need to know that I was meeting my partner in crime for a drink, as that was only going to be a quick thing. Boyfriend. Great. I'll give you a call tomorrow morning. Speak then X. Me, great, speak then X. I felt pretty good about things at this point. Yes, last night hadn't been ideal, but I was confident that I could keep it secret, that it wouldn't impact on my friendship with my partner in crime, and that it wouldn't impact on my relationship. Basically that I could have my cake and eat it. Evening came around quickly, and so did time to get ready for the drink. While I had no intention of it leading to anything, I still wanted to look good. The bar I'd chosen had opened recently and had a really relaxed vibe to it. You could go for a drink, some casual food, but it was generally pretty busy, so had a good buzz to it. It was also very informal dress code, which sounded perfect to me after dinner the night before. I had a nice new pair of jeans that I'd bought recently, ones that fit tightly. I was definitely going to wear those. No harm in showing my partner in crime what he was missing out on, with a brown leather belt and a white vest top. Keeping it casual, on my feet I wore some strappy white sandals. Overall, when I was dressed, I knew that I looked hot. But casual hot, rather than the classy hot from the night before. To finish the look, I applied only very light makeup and decided to wear my hair in a ponytail. I decided to walk to the bar but got caught up waiting to cross the road at some traffic lights, so ended up arriving a few minutes after 7. The bar was busy with a nice buzz to it, and my partner in crime was already there at a table. He had a beer, and offered to get me a drink, which I gladly accepted. Champagne? He said with a smile. I laughed. No, not tonight. A glass of white wine. We settled down with our drinks and made awkward small talk. It kept flashing through my head that this was the person last night. I got the feeling similar thoughts were going through his head too. I have to be honest, he was looking good. Going with the casual vibe, he was wearing long shorts and a t-shirt, with flip-flops on his feet. The t-shirt accentuated his muscles underneath in all the right places. Not that I was paying attention to that at the time. The small talk died down and we sat there in slightly awkward silence for maybe 30 seconds. He spoke first. So, what was last night? I blushed. I've been thinking the same. What do you think? Put the ball back in his court. Well, I'll put my cards on the table here. It was great. I had an amazing time. Not just in the hotel room, but everything before. I really enjoyed our time together. That got me thinking. I'd been fixating on what had happened after dinner, and given no thought to earlier in the evening. It had been good. We'd really clicked over dinner and I'd not enjoyed spending time with someone like that in a long time. Dare I admit it, but there had been a very definite spark between us. Dinner was great. I think we get on brilliantly. And, later on, was also great. I blushed again. Really great. I mean really great. Okay, so we both thought it was great. Really great. That's a start. And I'd really like it if last night wasn't the only time that we were really great together. He was looking deep into my eyes as he said this. Maybe there could be more times that we're really great together too? I sighed. I've got a boyfriend. We agreed last night that it was for last night only. He took my hand in his across the table, interlocking his fingers with mine. I should have pulled my hand away but didn't, his touch sending what felt like little jolts of electricity through me. His thumb started to gently stroke my fingers. What if last night meant something? We've got undeniably great chemistry, right? I looked at him and nodded reluctantly. Our legs were touching under the table by now, though I couldn't say whether that was deliberate on his part of accident. But the body-to-body contact dialed things up another notch. He continued, and what harm would it do for us to explore that a bit more? He would never need to know, it could be our secret. I said and did nothing. Inside I was torn, between the part of me that valued fidelity and the part that was willing to acknowledge that yes, there was a huge attraction to my partner in crime that maybe could be explored in a harmless way. If you didn't have a boyfriend, would we be dating by now? He said. I hesitated. Yes. I admitted. I think so. So why don't we give this a chance? Explore this. See what happens. I've got a boyfriend. I can't be unfaithful to him. I can't do that. Last night was... I searched for the right words. Was a drunken one-night stand. It wasn't the start of something. You regret last night? I paused for a long few seconds, thinking how to respond. Finally I said, no, I don't. It was the best one-night stand of my life. I took his other hand in mine and looked into his eyes. No regrets. But I have to be faithful to my boyfriend. Trying to reassure him, I then said, I'm going to be completely honest with you. My feelings right now, sitting here looking at you, every fiber of my being wants to say yes, let's explore some more, it could be great. But I can't be that person that's unfaithful, I just can't. Quietly, looking away he replied, how about being faithful to yourself? I looked at him quizzically. How do you mean? He looked back at me. You're worrying about your boyfriend and ignoring your own feelings. But you owe it to yourself to explore this. What if this is it? What if you and me are meant to be? To fall head over heels in love? To grow old together? You have a chance to explore this, and if you don't then you'll always wonder what might have been. But if you do, you'll always know that you tried it out, whoever you end up with in the long term. And it can be secret, we can make sure that no one gets hurt. He paused. That's what I mean by being faithful to yourself. That resonated. It really did. Be faithful to myself. Try this out, and a win-win situation where I either confirm my love for my boyfriend or realize that I want to be with someone else. I was wavering. If we explored this, what would it look like? You want it to be secret? I bit my lip and nodded but said nothing. Then we would keep it secret, even from your flatmate. We're okay until she gets back tomorrow afternoon. But then after that we take our chances when we can. People already expect us to go to things together as partners in crime, so we just do a bit more of that and maybe rather than going for dinner together we go somewhere else more private. But if you want it kept secret, we'll keep it secret. I realized that I wanted this. I really wanted it more than anything. Being faithful to myself, and in a perverse way by doing that also in the long run being more faithful to my boyfriend. But my brain was still functioning somewhere within this, and it was holding out for common sense to take over, even as images of that morning and the night before flashed through my memory. I don't know. This is so much. I need to think. I finished my glass of wine and stood up to go. I opened my mouth to say something further, but couldn't think of the right words, so instead I leaned over, gave him a quick peck on the cheek, and walked out of the bar. My partner in crime sat there, looking deflated and resigned to spending his evening alone. When I got outside, my head was spinning with so many conflicting emotions rushing through it. Dominating them all though was the terrible thought that I'd just done something that couldn't be undone, that there was no way back with my partner in crime having walked out on him. I realized that already, just a few minutes later, I was suffering from huge amounts of regret. What if he was the one? And was this going to be something that I regretted for the rest of my life? I started walking down the street towards my building, then stopped and turned around, and started walking back to my flat again. I was so torn. Turn around and that was it. I'd consciously, actively made the decision to cheat on my boyfriend. No excuse of alcohol. No excuse of getting caught up in the flow of things like the night before. I would be going back to another man and, without a doubt, I'd be doing things with him that I should only be doing with my boyfriend. But how could I forgive myself if I didn't? Last night, even this morning, had been special. I hadn't felt this feeling inside me, this longing, this desire for many years. Maybe not since I'd first got together with my boyfriend. What if I was walking away from something truly special? I hesitated, then made up my mind. Walking back towards the bar, I saw him leaving just as I got close. Calling his name, he stopped and walked towards me with a quizzical look on his face, stopping a couple of meters short of me. I stood there trying to find the words to say, but despite my mouth moving, nothing came out. I couldn't think of a way to say it and ended up standing there exasperated. He nodded in encouragement. Finally, after maybe a minute, I said, "You, we." Then I took a deep breath and started again. "You can keep this secret?" He nodded. "Yes, of course." I looked down for a couple of moments, then looked back at him. "Well, are you coming then?" We made it as far as an alleyway about 50 yards from the bar before we were all over each other, lips against lips, tongue against tongue. The only thing that stopped us was when a couple of kitchen staff from a nearby restaurant emerged for their cigarette break. Laughing, we headed off down the street hand in hand and made it back to my flat. Leading him by the hand into my bedroom, we fell onto the bed kissing. "Lie down," was my command. I knew that I looked good in my clothes and with my hair in a ponytail. I leaned down to kiss him gently but passionately. As we lay there afterwards, me almost too exhausted to move, we ordered from a local sushi place and went to sit outside on the apartment's balcony while we waited for the food to arrive. I'd got a bottle of wine out of the fridge along with 2 glasses and we settled in to drink. He'd put his shorts and t-shirt back on while I'd put on a light summer dress that I often wore during the weekends and had let my hair down. I'd like to pretend that I'd just thrown that all together, but I'm pretty sure I was really trying to look as good as possible for him. We spent the next while chatting, laughing together, and even recounting what had happened in the club the previous night and our detour down to the beach. It all seemed like a distant dream, but it happened less than 24 hours before. By the time that the food had arrived and we'd eaten, we'd managed to drink most of the bottle, and I was starting to feel pretty tipsy. As you'll have guessed by now, tipsy often equates to me losing my inhibitions, and this time was no different. I'd felt my arousal building while we talked. Getting up, I walked over to the edge of the balcony and stood in front of him, pretending to admire the view. He stood up, walking over behind me before gently pressing himself against me. His arms wrapped around me. That was amazing. It was everything I hoped. "Your ex was very lucky to have that." "My pleasure," he replied. "I think we've earned a rest." And with that we fell asleep in each other's arms, a deep sleep that lasted all night. Morning. I knew it was morning, and I woke up still cuddled in my partner in crime's arms. I had none of the reaction of 24 hours ago where I tried to flee the scene. Instead, I simply cuddled into him more, kissed him on neck and drifted off back to sleep. It felt right. He woke me up some time later, bringing me a cup of coffee in bed. "Full marks for effort there. How are you doing this morning?" he asked. "Okay after last night?" "Never better, my handsome lover," I joked. That was an entirely new experience for me, and I loved it. Not do it every day, loved it, but do it again soon, loved it definitely. "I don't know, your flatmate might get in the way if we tried it again tonight." My partner in crime needed to leave soon to avoid my flatmate discovering us. He went into the bathroom to take a shower. I took the chance to pull on a t-shirt that I often slept in, an XL-sized men's gray t-shirt that belonged to my boyfriend previously with the name of some random American sports team on it. I counted it as clothing and wasn't shy to walk around the flat in it. Walking out of my room towards the kitchen, I was disturbed by a sudden buzzing next to my bed. It was my phone ringing, with my boyfriend's number come up. I answered it and walked through to my flatmate's bedroom to be able to speak in private. This was going to be tricky. I was, still am, a terrible liar, so I really hoped this conversation would avoid me having to be outright untruthful. "Hello," I answered, trying to sound breezy. "Hello. How are you doing?" It sounded like he was in a club somewhere, with loud music in the background. "I'm great, thanks. Having a nice relaxed weekend. Very chilled today. Going to spend some time in the pool." Strictly true, so I felt like I was on safe ground. "How about you? What have you been up to?" "Oh, usual stag do stuff. Woke up late, have had a few drinks, enjoying the day really. I just wanted to check in quickly to see how you were." "Yeah, good thanks, like I say, a relaxed weekend." "And Friday night?" "Dinner was great. Food was fantastic. We should try eating there when you come to stay." "Did you go out after?" "We went for a couple of drinks." Again, strictly true. "After that I just needed to get to bed." Also strictly true. "I was exhausted by the time I went to sleep." Still true. "Great. Sounds like a good night." "I'm sorry, I'd been so paranoid that he was going to make a move on you." "He didn't, did he?" "No, definitely not." Still strictly true, I'd made the move. Brilliant. We got to chatting about various things, talking for maybe the next 5 minutes about this and that. Suddenly, my flatmate's bedroom door swung open and a voice called, "Where's my submissive fantasy woman?" I went bright red and frantically pointed at the phone, gesturing to my naked partner in crime to please be quiet. He smiled that smile back at me and mouthed the word sorry. "Was that someone in the background?" my boyfriend asked. I don't think so." I stammered out much too quickly. "Like I said, I'm a terrible liar." "It really sounded like a man asking something," he said. Rather than retreat from the room, my weekend lover had walked up behind me, started placing small kisses on my neck. Shit, this was not what I'd planned. I tried to use my free hand to push him away from me. "No, I have the window open, so it must have been someone outside." I tried with my free hand instead to pull his hands away from me, but he held them there, looking into my eyes in the reflection on my flatmate's bedroom mirror in front of us. He was smiling and clearly enjoying the game he was playing. Okay, no problem. Look, it's great to talk. I'm glad we found some time. I just wanted to say sorry for being so paranoid when we last spoke, and that I love you very much and can't wait to see you." I let out a small groan of pleasure. "What was that?" came the voice down the line. "Oh, nothing." I groaned again. "I just spilled some water on my bed. Tell me about what you did last night." I managed to say steadily. This was out of control. I was trapped. My partner in crime thought that molesting me while I spoke to my boyfriend was an amusing game, and for me to make it clear to him that it wasn't would give the whole game away. This was in the days before mobile phones had mute buttons, and there was no way I could speak to him without risking my boyfriend hearing. But at the same time, I couldn't rush my boyfriend off the call. He'd been so worried about dinner on Friday that me acting weirdly today would have been a red flag for him. Suddenly I hit on a great idea. "I want phone sex. Now." I blurted out. My boyfriend laughed. "Seriously? I'm in a bar." "Yes, I need it. I want it. Tell me your special fantasy. You know the one." "Okay, give me 2 minutes, I'll find somewhere." Mercifully for those 2 minutes I didn't have to keep up the pretense so much. My boyfriend spoke back into the phone. "Okay, I'm in the disabled bathroom. I should be okay for a few minutes." With my face half buried in my flatmate's bedsheets, I said down the phone, "That was amazing. I love you." "I love you too," came the voice down the phone. "I miss you." "I miss you too. Enjoy your evening. I love you so much." And with that I ended the call. I took a second to catch my breath and process what had just happened. My lover had laid down on top of me and started to kiss my neck and back, and I was pinned there while I recovered. "What were you doing?" I managed to say. He stopped and looked at me in puzzlement, rolling off me in the process. Turning over and quickly pulling my t-shirt back down, I climbed off the bed and to my feet. "Answer me. What were you doing?" I practically shouted this time. He stood up opposite me and I slapped him in the face hard. He took a step back. "What was that for?" he asked. What was that for? I shouted. What do you think it was for? I don't know. That was hot. You clearly enjoyed it. Why are you turning on me? That was not okay. I responded angrily. I was talking to my boyfriend, and you recklessly came in here and risked everything for me. Everything. He paused. I'm sorry. I thought you were into it. It seemed like a hot idea, and it seemed like a fun thing to do. It felt naughty. It was not. You've humiliated my boyfriend in front of me. I didn't realize. I thought we had a special connection after the last 2 nights. I'll be honest. I thought there was something more. I thought there were feelings as well? Or was I wrong? Now I paused. Quietly I replied, no, you weren't wrong. The last 2 days have been incredible, and I've realized that I've had some strong feelings growing for you over the last few months. By now we'd gone back into my bedroom, and we both sat down on the bed as he said, I love you. I hesitated, not sure what to say. I think I could fall in love with you. But not yet. Don't make this complicated. We talked about this at the bar last night. Exploring, that's all. I want this to be complicated. I love you. Leave your boyfriend. I can't. You don't understand. I love him very much. I'm incredibly fond of you too, and I'm so happy that we've spent this time together, but I'm not leaving him. You're not in love with me, you're in lust. Right now, you're imagining that if we were together then the sex would be like this always and it would be incredible. But it isn't like that. That's a fantasy. We're wonderfully compatible, and you've given me more pleasure than I can remember, but if we were together it would be much more vanilla. I'm only open to some of the things we've tried because this is a one-off and we've got no relationship baggage to carry with us. He looked deflated but nodded his understanding. Where does that leave us now? Look, what happened just now was not okay. I need some time to process. I told you no several times and you persisted. I tried to move your hands away several times and you forcefully kept on doing what you were doing. And I made it very clear that I did not want you to touch me, and you did. You've invaded me, and mentally there's a lot that I need to work through there and what you've done to my boyfriend. I'm sorry, I didn't realize. You didn't tell me at any point to stop. I thought it was okay. How could I tell you to stop? If I had then my boyfriend would have heard, and it would have been the end of everything. And to be clear, if that had happened there would be zero chance of you and me in the future. Realization crossed his face, and he realized he'd messed up. I'm sorry. That's a start. I know that you're a good person, and I know that you've only got experience of one other person before me, and I accept that you thought I consented. But the fact is that I didn't. A word of advice, you need to be really, really careful with acting like that. There's a word that someone who didn't know you and respect you could use for what you just did, and it ends people up in jail. Maybe that was okay in your last relationship. But maybe your ex wasn't really okay with it and just played along. Please in future be so much more careful. He lay back on the bed and sighed in frustration. I can't believe I screwed up like that. I'm so sorry. If I'd realized I'd have stopped. But please don't end this. Look, I need to think. Can you just leave and we can meet for coffee in a couple of hours when I've got my thoughts together? Don't worry. I'm not going to do anything stupid. I know that you're a good person and that you're mortified at what happened. I just need some time. Okay, I understand. Can you message me when you're ready to meet? He got up to get dressed. Wait, I said. I walked over to him, embraced him, and kissed him. We stood there kissing slowly for a few seconds. To reassure you. Then he got dressed and left. After what had just happened, I initially went into automatic mode, tidying my flatmate's room, returning her belts, clearing up the living room, and basically moving all the detritus of 2 people having made love all over the flat for the last 12 or so hours. In my bathroom I ran myself a bath and spent the next hour soaking in it as I ran the last few days through my head. I'd gone from arguing strongly that there was nothing to worry about, to convincing myself that going on a date was not technically cheating. I'd consciously and deliberately made the decision to, for all intents and purposes, start an affair. Thoughts of what to do now ran through my head. I really had 2 choices in the short term. I could either continue this with my partner in crime, or I could call it quits. After what had just happened, it was hard to argue for anything other than the latter. My trust in his judgment was gone and it might never come back. But there was no halfway house there. But then also the question came of what happens after? We had a lot of friends in common, we all went out together all the time, I couldn't avoid him unless I also gave up my entire social life here. So, we'd need to see each other socially, and that meant that we'd need to agree where things stood between us. It would be awful if every time we went out as a group he expected to end the evening with me. But also, selfishly, maybe in the right situation. And I hoped we could, genuinely, still be friends. I ran this all through my mind, and then sent the message. The last 48 hours have been incredible, but we need to talk. Coffee at the usual place in 10 minutes? Meeting for coffee, I made much less effort about my appearance. I went to meet him in my gym kit. He was dressed similarly. In fact, I suspected that he'd just be in the gym working out some frustrations. I got there first and ordered both our favorites. Regardless of anything else, I knew him well enough to do that. "Are you okay?" he asked, arriving and coming to sit down with me. "Yes, I'm fine." I smiled. "I've been thinking." "So have I. Do you want to go first?" "Yes, please." "Look, what happened earlier was too much. I worry that you got so carried away and that could happen again. The last 48 hours have been great." "No, not great. Incredible. It's been amazing. And I've loved every minute with you until what happened when I was on the phone. But, to be blunt, my boyfriend wouldn't have done that to me. I just fear that we're not compatible long term. I'm sorry, I really am, but I can't do this." He took my hand in his. "I understand, and again I'm so sorry. You're a wonderful person and I wish circumstances were different. I think we'd make a great couple. What are we going to do when we see each other over the coming months? We're always at the same social events. I really hope, that this isn't the last time that we sleep together. But I understand that you have your boyfriend and it's probably too much to hope that we have something in the future as long as you're with him." "After what happened this morning? Yes, I think it is." "Okay, I understand. We make a pretty good pairing, wouldn't you agree?" I smiled. "Yes, we do." "I mean, never say never." He looked at me. "How do you mean?" "Well, you need to move on. I'll be so happy for you to see you dating other people. You deserve someone special. But if at some point, you find yourself single and I find myself lonely, well, we shouldn't be shy to talk." He smiled. "That sounds good." We talked for a while longer. Then I got up to go. "I'll see you soon?" I asked. "I hope so," he replied. He stood up and we hugged. Then I walked out of the door.